Welcome, and thank you for joining us for this fascinating exploration of Alzheimer's disease and exercise. I'm your host, Elton Sherwin. In this episode, my AI partners break down some of the latest research and put it in context. If you only listen to this episode, you might walk away thinking that unless you're going to do 20 minutes of vigorous walking every day, you might as well stay in bed, which I found suspect. So I pushed back and I asked a few follow-up questions, as you sometimes have to do with AI. The next episode picks up there, and interestingly enough, it takes the opposite stance. It downplays vigorous exercise. But taken together, these two episodes give a more complete look at what science is saying about movement and health.
Welcome back. Today, we're diving deep into something that sounds, well, almost too good to be true. It's this idea that you can literally trade time spent exercising for more time added to your life. We had a great question from a listener picking up on this claim. Is it really true that for every minute you walk, you somehow buy back 3 minutes of life? Walk 20 minutes, get an extra hour. Sounds pretty wild.
It does sound wild, but it's a fascinating question about return on investment, isn't it? And surprisingly, the data gives us, well, a pretty compelling picture, though maybe not quite that simple minute-for-minute exchange in all cases. So our mission today is really to explore the power of movement. We'll tackle that mathematical payoff, how much time you actually gain.
Okay, so the time investment. And then I'm really interested in this next part, moving beyond just longevity stats. We've got some incredible new research about the brain, right? A biological link suggesting walking might actually help fend off dementia.
Exactly. We'll look at how movement could potentially help clear out the amyloid plaques associated with Alzheimer's. It's quite groundbreaking. And finally, the very practical side. When we talk about hitting step goals, say 10,000 steps, or getting 150 minutes of exercise, does just wandering around the house count? Or cleaning, what actually makes the cut?
Right. What kind of activity truly counts? This is all super relevant because globally, physical inactivity is a massive issue. WHO estimates something like 3.2 million deaths each year are linked to it. So yeah, understanding this investment seems critical.
Absolutely. It's not just about adding years to life, but really adding life to years.
Okay, let's start with that ROI, the return on investment. Can we actually quantify the life gain from being active? Does the payoff be the time spent?
Yes. The short answer is a definite yes. But that simple 1 minute for 3 idea, while catchy, simplifies a lifetime accumulation. We look at data from 6 large prospective studies. These focus specifically on leisure time physical activity, so intentional exercise and life expectancy in adults over 40.
Adults over 40. Okay. And what's the big picture finding from pooling all that data?
Well, one of the most striking things is that the link between activity and longer life holds up regardless of your weight. Whether someone have a BMI in the normal range, or is overweight or even obese, adding physical activity is associated with increased life expectancy.
That's really important because those often get tangled together. Okay, so let's get into the specifics. Numbers. If someone is doing basically no intentional exercise right now, what's the minimum they could do to see a benefit?
Even relatively low levels of activity make a difference. We're talking the equivalent of brisk walking for maybe up to 75 minutes per week. Just that amount was associated with a gain of 1.8 years in life expectancy compared to doing nothing.
1.8 years for less than 15 minutes of brisk walking a day. That's a pretty good deal.
It really is. It shows the power of just starting. But as you'd expect, the benefits increase with more activity.
Right. So what happens when people hit those higher recommended levels, say closer to the standard guidelines?
When you get to the highest levels studied, which was like brisk walking for 450 minutes or more per week, so over an hour a day, the gain in life expectancy jumped to 4.5 years.
Wow, 4.5 years. That's substantial. So more effort, bigger return. Makes sense.
Precisely.
Now, circling back to that listener's ratio question, the minute for minute or minute for 3 minutes idea, does the data give us that kind of conversion rate?
It actually does in some specific analyses. One study focused on non-Hispanic white men, tracking them from age 20 onwards. They estimated that for every hour these men spent doing moderate intensity activity throughout adulthood, they gained back roughly 2.6 hours of life.
Okay, so better than 1-to-1, definitely. More like 1 to 2.6 for moderate effort.
Exactly. And it gets even better with vigorous activity. For every hour spent on vigorous exercise, the estimated gain was 5.2 hours of life.
5.2 hours back for every hour of hard work. That really supports the listener's initial thought, maybe even exceeds it for vigorous stuff.
It does. The conclusion from this line of research is pretty clear. The time you gain back in longevity far exceeds the time you actually spend exercising, particularly if you push the intensity. You're essentially banking time.
So why that big leap? Why does vigorous activity give double the return compared to moderate? What's happening physiologically?
Well, think about it. Moderate activity is great for maintaining cardiovascular health, but vigorous activity really challenges the system. It forces the heart muscle to adapt more significantly, improving its efficiency, stroke volume, basically making it a stronger pump. This leads to better oxygen delivery, lower blood pressure, reduced inflammation, deeper systemic benefits that really drive longevity gains.
Got it. It's like a tune-up versus a full engine rebuild.
That's a decent analogy, yes. And when you combine this intentional movement with other healthy factors like maintaining a healthy weight, the impact is huge.
Oh, huge.
Consider this. Being active, meeting those recommended levels, and having a normal weight, BMI 18.5, 24.9, was associated with a gain of 7.2 years of life compared to someone inactive and obese class 2, BMI 35.0 plus.
7.2 years. That's incredible.
It is. And just for context, long-term cigarette smoking is estimated to shorten life expectancy by about 10 years. So getting active and managing weight is almost as powerful in the opposite direction as quitting smoking is beneficial. It's a massive lifestyle modifier.
Okay, the longevity case is incredibly strong. Hours gained far exceed hours spent. But let's shift focus now up to the brain. This connection between walking and dementia risk.
Yeah.
It feels like the next frontier. How exactly does moving your feet help protect your mind?
Right. This is where it gets really interesting on a biological level. We're learning more about something called the glymphatic system. Think of it as the brain's dedicated cleaning crew, or maybe its plumbing system.
The glymphatic system. Okay, I've heard of the lymphatic system for the body, but the brain has its own version. Why?
Well, the brain is incredibly active, always generating metabolic waste. But it's enclosed in the skull, right? It doesn't have the same kind of space or access for the regular lymphatic vessels. So it developed this unique system that uses the flow of cerebrospinal fluid, the fluid surrounding the brain, to flush waste products out of the brain tissue itself, especially during sleep.
Like a power wash while we sleep.
Exactly. But what's new and exciting is the evidence, particularly from animal studies recently, suggesting that aerobic exercise can significantly boost the function of this glymphatic system while we're awake.
Okay, so how does walking or swimming, like in the mouse studies you mentioned, actually help this brain cleaning process?
It relates directly to one of the main culprits implicated in Alzheimer's disease, those sticky proteins called amyloid beta, or A. These proteins can clump together to form plaques, disrupting brain cell communication and contributing to memory loss.
Right, the amyloid plaques, that's the hallmark people talk about.
Yes. And the research indicates that aerobic exercise enhances the efficiency of the glymphatic system in clearing out this AF. It seems to improve the exchange between the cerebrospinal fluid, CSF, bathing the brain, and the interstitial fluid, ISF, within the brain tissue.
So more fluid movement, better waste removal. Exercise helps flush the air out before it can build up and cause damage, especially in areas like the hippocampus.
That appears to be the mechanism, yes. Enhanced clearance, reduced deposition, particularly in the hippocampus, which is critical for learning and memory. It's essentially helping the brain take out the trash more effectively.
That is fascinating. It makes exercise seem less like a general health booster and more like targeted biological maintenance for the brain.
Precisely. And this isn't just theoretical. There are human studies supporting it too. One study pointed out that even walking around 5,000 steps a day.
Which isn't a huge amount, maybe 35, 40 minutes of moderate walking.
Right. That level of activity might help slow down cognitive decline in older adults who are already considered at risk for Alzheimer's. It suggests a tangible, accessible intervention.
Plus, walking has other brain benefits too, doesn't it? Like reducing the risk of strokes or vascular dementia by keeping blood vessels healthy.
Absolutely. And it helps manage conditions like type 2 diabetes, which itself is a known risk factor for Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
So walking offers this multi-pronged defense strategy for brain health.
Okay, this is all incredibly motivating. We get more years, and those years might be sharper, cognitively speaking. But this brings us to the crucial practical question our listener also touched on. We hear about step counts, 5,000, 10,000 steps, or the 150 minutes a week goal. Does every single step count? Like walking to the fridge, doing chores, or does it need to be dedicated exercise?
That's a really important clarification, and the guidelines are quite specific here. Generally speaking, your routine, low-intensity daily movements, puttering around the house, light cleaning, maybe slow walking at work, these do not count towards that 150-minute target of health-enhancing activity.
Wait, really? Even if you're on your feet all day doing chores, why not? It can feel tiring.
It can feel tiring, sure. But the focus of the guidelines is on moderate to vigorous intensity physical activity, or MVPA. The key difference is the intensity and the sustained nature of the effort. Those light daily activities usually don't elevate your heart rate and breathing rate enough for long enough to stimulate the cardiorespiratory adaptations we've been talking about.
Okay, so it's about challenging the system beyond its baseline. Vacuuming might feel like work, but it's probably not pushing my heart rate into that moderate zone for a sustained period.
Exactly. And modern conveniences have made many chores less physically demanding than they used to be. Think lawnmowers you ride versus push, So the activity needs to be intentional, planned, and hit a certain threshold.
Okay, let's define that threshold. What makes activity count as MVPA? You said intensity and duration. Let's start with duration.
For an activity bout to officially contribute to your weekly MVPA total and confer those cardiorespiratory benefits, it generally needs to be performed for at least 10 continuous minutes.
10 minutes minimum per session. Okay, so 5 minutes here, 8 minutes there doesn't quite cut it for the main goal.
For accumulating towards that 150-minute target for major health benefits, the evidence supports sticking to those 10-minute minimum bouts. You can absolutely break up your 150 minutes throughout the week, say 3 10-minute brisk walks on 5 days, but each walk needs to hit that duration.
That's crucial. Intentional blocks of time. Now, intensity, how do you know if your walk is moderate or vigorous?
Moderate intensity is the baseline goal for most people. Brisk walking, around 3 miles per hour or about 100 steps per minute, typically falls into this category. It's about 3.3 METs if you track metabolic equivalents. But the easiest way to gauge it without any gadgets is the talk test.
The talk test, how does that work?
Simple. If you're doing moderate intensity activity like a brisk walk, you should notice your breathing is quicker and deeper than usual. You might be sweating a bit. You should be able to carry on a conversation, speak in full sentences, but you probably wouldn't be able to comfortably sing a song.
Okay, talk but not sing. That's a clear marker. And vigorous.
Vigorous intensity means you're breathing much harder and faster. You'll likely only be able to get out a few words at a time before needing to take a breath. Singing is definitely out of the question. Remember, 75 minutes of vigorous activity counts the same as 150 minutes of moderate for the guidelines.
Talk but not sing for moderate. Only short phrases for vigorous. Got it. So it's not just about total steps, it's about how you get those steps in those 10-minute plus focused bursts.
Precisely. Intentionality and intensity are key for unlocking those significant health returns we discussed.
All right, let's bring this all together for you listening right now. The takeaway seems incredibly clear. First, that investment in movement, it pays off big time. The hours of life gained, especially with vigorous activity, really do seem to exceed the hours spent.
Absolutely. And second, movement acts like medicine for your brain. It's not just good vibes. There's a plausible biological mechanism enhancing that lymphatic cleaning system, helping clear out harmful proteins like amyloid beta linked to Alzheimer's.
A brain cleaning benefit, literally. And finally, the crucial part, for activity to really count towards those major health goals, like 150 minutes a week, it needs intention and duration. Those casual steps around the house are fine, but the real magic happens in sustained 10-minute plus bouts where you push your heart rate up, talk, but maybe not sing.
Exactly. And the beauty of this is how accessible walking is. It requires no special equipment, no gym membership. It's already part of life. Making small, conscious choices, getting off the bus one stop early, taking the stairs, scheduling even just one 10-minute brisk walk into your lunch break. These are the things that build up that investment.
It really reframes it, doesn't it? Not just exercise, but an investment strategy for longevity and brain health. There was a study suggesting that becoming more physically active around age 50 had a mortality reduction benefit similar in scale to quitting smoking at that age.
That's a powerful comparison. It highlights just how impactful intentional movement can be, right alongside avoiding major harms like smoking.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. If movement truly is medicine, with returns this profound for both body and brain, how will you intentionally carve out those 10-minute investment blocks today? Knowing what you know now, what small change can you make to start banking that extra time and brain power?
Thanks for joining us today. Don't miss our next episode, which builds on this one. And remember to follow our show so new episodes show up automatically in your podcasting app. This is Elton Sherwin. Stay safe and stay healthy.